Achieving a gorgeous grin from home isn't a total mystery with Bite Clear aligners. Just don't be surprised if all of your sleuthing friends start asking, "What's your secret?" Begin by ordering your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95. Bite Clear aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces. Plus, they offer flexible financing, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
Expressing your love can look many different ways. And with the right jewelry gift from Blue Nile, it can truly sparkle. Blue Nile's collection of classic diamond jewelry makes for the kind of gift that speaks volumes without saying a single word. Or switch things up with a sapphire piece sure to spark conversation. Either way, Blue Nile's Diamond Guarantee ensures you get the highest quality at the best price. Express yourself with Blue Nile, the original online jeweler, at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room? It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system. If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served. Hi, I'm Detective Dave. I'm Detective Dan. Together we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood. So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished. From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th. We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
And welcome back to Scarred for Life, the podcast where we open up old wounds by looking back at the films that scared us as kids. I'm Terry.
And I'm Mary Beth.
Each episode, our special guest will bring with them a movie that traumatized them as a child.
This week, our guest is Izzy Lee. She's a writer, director, and producer known for her short films, including the Lovecraftian story Innsmouth, the socio-political satire Rehome, and upcoming Graveyard Disco. Welcome to the show, Izzy.
Hey, thanks, guys. So cool to be here.
So excited to have you here.
Yeah, I when you had messaged me, I didn't realize that in one of your short films, My Monster, that both Bria and Adam Egypt or Mortimer were in it. And
yes,
in fact, I'm going to confess this on the air, but you got to promise that this is just between the three of us. When Adam walked out from his car, I didn't realize who it was, and I was like, "Ooh, who's this hottie?" And then I was like, "Oh, it's Adam." So
surprise!
Yeah. I was like, "Oh shit, that's Adam."
It is Adam. As far as I know, that is Adam's first ever on-screen role.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Yes.
Very good.
But yeah. I was struggling with the choice of, like, do I put introducing Adam Egypt Mortimer? I'm like, I don't know, man. It might be a little pretentious, so I did it. But I should have. I don't know.
That would have been really funny.
I did think about it.
So in looking at and watching all your short films, I realized I had seen 3 of your short films before, and I didn't know, before I knew you, and just online and on Shudder. I'd seen
that's so funny.
I saw Innsmouth on Shudder. It was on Shudder before, right?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, am I making that up in my brain? And then I saw Rehome at Cinepocalypse.
Same.
Oh, nice.
And then I saw For a Good Time Call. I don't know where. I can't remember. It was a long time ago, but I saw it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've seen more of these movies than I expected, and they're so good and so different.
Oh, you're so kind. I mean, I get around. What can I say?
So how did you get into the horror genre? Has it been something you've loved your whole life? Were you did you get into it later? Tell us your horror story.
Yeah. Okay. So my horror story is I was just born a little weirdo and I loved horror immediately. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was always attracted to the darker sides of things. Like, I would watch stuff like the Roger Corman, Edgar Allan Poe, AIP, Vincent Price movies, and I was so in love with them. Oh my god, the lurid colors and mystery, and it's so gothic and beautiful and lush and dramatic. I'm like, I don't know what is going on in my small little brain, but I'm so in love. And then American Werewolf in London is the first actual horror film that I can vividly remember watching in its, well, I won't say its entirety because there's a story behind that, but it is the one that
got you in
biggest, deepest, most impression on me as a child. And then like I have like dozens of others like after that. Like I said, I was like, I can pull from like a whole list, you know. But this was like, I got to do this one if I can.
Yeah.
So, was your family full of horror lovers too, or is it something you discovered on your own?
No. So I wasn't really supervised as a child. And so, like, I would have rock fights and, you know, we walked to school in, like, a neighborhood pack of kids in the early 80s when you could do this. And it was okay. And there was no helicopter parenting, really. In fact, it was, like, total neglect. But
latchkey kids.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So I would entertain myself and, you know, just find like the weirdest thing I could to watch, like Creature double feature, like Saturday morning and afternoon I would watch with Godzilla and like
hell yeah,
Ants and Them and stuff like that. I just always loved it, you know. As a filmmaker, I only got into it myself fairly recently.
Okay.
What I had been doing before then, to make a long story short-ish, is that I became a film festival programmer in like 2004 with Boston Underground Film Festival. Yeah. And I did that for a number of years. And from there, I moved on to like genre journalism. So I would write for Fangoria.com or, you know, Room Morgue and do capsule reviews or interview people. I'm still an editor at Screen Anarchy, which back in the day was called Twitch Film. Wow. Before the gaming site, behemoth Twitch came along and there was a whole legal thing and but with filmmaking, I only wrote my first like short script like 2012. Okay. And it was because I got so incensed at the politics in this country.
Yeah.
That I needed I'm one of those.
Yeah, same.
Like excellent. Yeah. So and so I don't need to tell you that horror filmmaking is very, very political.
What?
What? Who knew?
Excuse me, what are you talking about?
I mean, contrary to some people on Twitter, yes, it is incredibly political.
Yeah, well, they're totally blind and ridiculous for even thinking otherwise. You and I know better.
Oh.
So when Representative Todd Akin came out and be like, oh, it's only a legitimate rape if like blah, 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 and a woman's body has a whole way to shut that whole thing down. And I'm like, what? How? I broke. My head broke. My mind broke. My universe broke. And I was like, fuck you. I'm writing a thing. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to try to do this. And that ended up being the short film Legitimate, which played some fests here and there. And I wasn't sure if I would be able to do it competently or at all. But I wanted to try it. I had been an artist, I had been a writer, I had been an actor. I had been in the festival world forever. And I caught the bug and here we are.
That's so cool. So you've like really been in so many different areas of the horror world, like it, not even just in filmmaking, but like as a journalist and at a film festival. And that's so cool. And that's got to be so helpful in the filmmaking process. Just having like that kind of knowledge of how other different sectors of like horror view and operate, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean there are nuances and stuff and whatever, but we're all the same type of personality or well, maybe not the same personality, but you know, like we're all good people. We're all like, the horror people are the best people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
I agree.
You know, it's something about...
I agree.
Yes,
I definitely
exactly.
agree with that.
Yeah, it's something about exercising your inner demons and getting things out, and then you become sort of well-adjusted to, like, this insane reality that we are forced to live in. Yeah.
So I have to ask about the obliteration of chickens, which is one of your short films that, like, I was watching, like, I watched your films in order. And one thing that, I have to say is that I really could see your growth as a filmmaker over these shorts. And I think that your last few are just, Rehome. I mean, I reviewed it last year, but I absolutely love Rehome.
Yeah.
But the obliteration of chickens, it's so bizarre from, like, your other films. And I mean that in a good way. It kind of reminded me of, like, what's that German Werner Herzog?
Werner Herzog.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doing
Exactly.
like a, Deep Thoughts with, what was his name? Jack Handy? Is
Jack Handy.
Jack Handy? Like, I was getting like this vibe of that from this. How did you come up with this sort of like anti-self-help short film?
Oh, well, I don't know.
I mean,
I love
fair.
that.
I will say, so the narrator of The Obliteration of the Chickens is my friend Bracken McLeod, and he is a fantastic horror novelist, by the way, like really great psychological horror.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and he also lives here in Massachusetts, and we go over to his place. He's got a nice family, and then we hang out, and he makes some really mean cocktails, and we just talk about all sorts of things. And before I moved to LA a couple of years back, in like 2017, we were just talking about Werner Herzog because he's such a strange human being. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
And, like, why wouldn't you be entranced by that? And we were watching clips, and I was like, Bracken, I'm totally going to write something in the vein of Werner Herzog doing something incredibly strange, and I don't know what, but will you voice it? Because he can do that impression really well. And he's like, fuck yeah, just let me know when. So I had recorded voiceover before we moved to LA, and then 10 months later we moved back, and that's a whole fucking other story. But when I got back, I was like, oh, well shit, I never made this stupid little movie with my friend, but I still have the voiceover, so what if I just do like strange stock footage so I can have something for the festival circuit, and like it's going to be really weird but really funny, and like also like super existentialist and nihilist and maybe a little bit positive because it's super funny, but I don't know. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do, because I had always done like a narrative live action type of horror story, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a total departure. So I had no idea how it was going to be, received by festival directors or audiences or even other filmmakers. But, people were, people like Adam were actually like really supportive. We've been friends for a while. And he's helped me out on a lot of stuff. But, I was like, all right, well, here we go. Why the fuck not? I'm going to send this out to the universe. And I was really surprised that people liked it so much. And so, I've made not exactly a sequel with Disco Graveyard, but, the same sort of assembled footage with sort of technique, like a stock footage with music and yeah. So
The dancing cat in Disco Graveyard, I loved.
the big cat float.
Yes.
Cat, yes.
It's so incredibly strange.
It was so
like,
hypnotic, though.
Wait,
Yeah.
is that stock footage?
Yeah,
Oh shit!
that's the thing.
That's amazing.
Those two films, Disco Graveyard and The Obliteration of the Chickens, are both 100% stock footage.
So I
didn't
knew that about the
completely realize
obliteration of
that.
chickens, but I didn't realize that about Disco Graveyard, and that makes it even funnier because it like I love weird stock footage. Like I am a video editor by day for
Oh, no way.
a nonprofit, yeah, and so
Cool.
like stock footage cracks me up all of the time, forever, and like just the stuff that people put out there that you can pay for is hysterical. And I love that you made it a video of these things that just like exist and you don't know for what purpose other than you're like this amazing short film you made. So that is phenomenal. Like who else is
thank
using the
you.
dancing women with the cat floaty? I mean, maybe I
don't
will,
know,
but like now I
feel
want to
like-
find it. But
Yeah, I feel like somebody in Austin was like, hey, let's do some weird shit on the weekend, and why not? And see, some idiot weirdo will buy it like me. So,
let me list this and just see what happens and if I make any money. And you're like, I will help you make some money off of this clip. Thank you.
This is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Like, it's almost as good as the part in the Obliteration of the Chickens where, like, there's the kids at the birthday party and the clown's nose just falls off. And so I'm like, I said to my editor, I said, please slow this down. I need this to be in slow motion because this is so horrific and yet beautiful, and I'm in love. This has to happen. So yeah, if you come across any especially strange stock footage, I want you to email me.
I will.
I want to know about it.
I will.
Thank you.
Of course.
Hell yeah.
Oh my god.
And then you have I think it's 2, right, that are on the altar, the dust.
I do.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's My Monster and The Rites of Vengeance.
Rites of Vengeance. Yeah.
So going back to My Monster a bit, I don't want to spoil it, but there was one part where
spoil it. It's online. Yeah, it's fine.
Well, there's one part I just started absolutely laughing, and that was when Bria Grant's like, asshole.
Yeah. That's my favorite part.
It's so fucking good because I was like, I'm like, what am I watching first of all? Because it's like, I have Adam Egypt Mortimer boxing a demon, and then and then she just comes over and is like, all right, I've had enough of this. It's exactly what I want to see my heroines do. She's like, hey, fuck you. What are you doing? Why are you here, man?
You just want my blood? Will you leave me alone after I give you my blood? Like, it's just so straightforward and like what you always like want to happen in horror movies. And it's so funny to see it actually happen. And instead of her being scared, she's like, what the fuck do you want? Here, just like bite my wrist and get it over with.
Is the dopest, right?
It's the dopest. It's so good.
Yeah, I need to have more of what I want to see in the world in my own movies. So this is one of my missions, what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, and Terry, sorry. Do you want to ask more about My Monster?
No, I just wanted to get that out there that I laughed so hard, and I think people should go watch that for sure. Yes.
And we'll link all of we'll link the 2 that are available on YouTube in the description of the podcast so everyone can go watch because they're very good and worth your time. But you span so many different topics in your shorts. Like, they're all so different. And it's so interesting and like really impressive to see the range that you have with your shorts, like going from like My Monster, that's really funny, to like Rehome, which is pretty political and intense, and The Rites of Vengeance. And so like, how do you get, like, where do the ideas come for these stories? Like, how are you what gets you inspired, I guess? So as you've probably noticed, I swing. And by the way, thank you so much for the very kind words. I really appreciate that. Oh yeah, of course. Thank you. Because that's the goal, is to grow and get better with every project. Yeah. But like you guys have noticed that I have a really strange sense of humor, and I do a lot of horror. So I tend to swing back and forth between like super crazy weird shit, like Adult Swim type humor and off the wall type shit in reality, and like really dark political stuff. Because that is the war inside my mind. So like I want the world. So I was having a conversation with Adam recently. I shadowed on his new movie Arch Enemy. Ooh, cool. It was very, very incredibly lucky and honored to be able to do so. And we were having a conversation. We were just walking at a lunch with his line producer and his DP, and I heard the word nihilism, and I looked up, and Adam's like, oh, well, Izzy's, into nihilism. And I'm like, I was. But I want the world to be better. And so Adam says, well, you're post-nihilist then. I'm like, I guess that's what I am. So basically what that means is I'm an optimist, nihilist, post-nihilist. I'm very confused. Cool. I want, so there's a lot of shit out there that doesn't matter, and nothing will ever matter because we're all going to die. So that is my base. But then I have grown, and I said, well, I want things to be better. How can I make it better? How can we all make things better? Because maybe nothing fucking matters, but maybe we can make it better while we're fucking here. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
So I have if my brain is an internet browser. I have like 40 tabs open all the time. And there's stuff that I always want to explore and get back to. With my monster, it was... So I had seen Adam Box at Fantastic Fest. I think he did it 2 years. I'm not sure if it's 2 years in a row, whatever. Anyway. And I said, hey, clearly I know you direct. And this is back in like, was it 2017? Yeah. But would you act? Because I'm really digging your energy. You have charisma, man.
He does.
He does.
So he thought about it and he's like, yeah, just like that. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna do something fucking weird. And so you're gonna box in it. I don't know what yet, but
oh my god.
And so yeah. At least just a little bit with my $5 budget. So I wrote the weird little script, a couple of weeks later. I sent it to Bria and Adam, and my husband Steve plays the monster, by the way.
Oh, okay.
And,
amazing.
So we had a table read and we discussed dialogue and motivations, and like we filmed it like, I don't know, like 2 months later.
Wow.
So yeah, and it was a really fun experience. We only had like 10 hours, I think, to film it. Like, that makeup took a long time.
I can imagine.
A long time. Yeah. I was actually really lucky to get that makeup artist, Sabrina Castro. She went on to, like, work as a makeup artist in Us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she worked on Baby Driver. And, like, the craziest thing, like, when you film in LA, you have the most amazing resources of people to choose from. They're so talented, and oh my god, I love it. But with Rites of Vengeance, totally different, much darker.
Yeah.
Like I said, like Dark Side of the Moon, right?
Right.
So I was raised Catholic, and very, very early on, I had gone to parochial school, like, I don't know, like first and second grade, and my mom had given me a choice after that. Do you want to continue Catholic school or do you want to go to public school? And I was like, it wasn't even a question. I was like, hands down, public school, get me out of here. I don't like nuns. They're fucking weird.
They are.
Things are creepy. I don't like religion. Like, I'm saying all of this at like 7 or 8 years old.
Wow.
Like, I didn't trust fucking anybody. And I just had like this feeling like these people are smiling and they're talking about this God that no one sees. And like, yet these children in Africa are starving and everything just seems so hypocritical and off base, like, where is your God? What is this like magical superhero in the sky that no one talks to, like, for real. And, I had read, like, they had given us like this weird little like children's edition Bible. And I remember reading it, like, I'm 6, 7, 8 years old. I'm like, this is the trashiest novel that was ever written. What the hell is this shit? Like, people live to be 914 years old and have like 80 kids. I don't think so. Like, what is this? I was like, I don't want any fucking part of this. This is stupid. So, and then, okay, so growing up in the Boston area, you hear things.
Yes.
And children are getting fucking raped, and priests are being moved around so they can rape more kids. And I'm like, I'm not, I had a fight with my mom. She wanted me to get confirmed in high school. And I said, no, I will get married on a beautiful beach somewhere outside in nature if I ever get married, because this world sucks. But, that is what's going to happen. And like, no, I'm not doing it. Stop. End of story. And there were so many fights, and I was like, no, so I don't trust religion. I know, I personally know someone who's gotten abused by a priest,
Jesus,
and it's just like, I was like, fuck that.
Yeah.
So Rites of Vengeance is more of like a personal thing.
Yeah.
Based in reality. And if you've seen Spotlight, then
yes.
Yeah.
I was seeing like Spotlight and Ms. 45 at the same time. Just because she wears
amazing
the nun outfit at the end. But it's also like a kind of a rape revenge short in a way. I don't know. I really dug it. It's so, and I love when like short films, because it's so amazing what you can do in like 4 minutes. It's so cool.
It's a challenge.
Yeah. But it's so impressive. And I'm always just like in awe of short filmmakers and how they tell such amazing stories in such a short amount of time. It's got to be difficult and nerve-wracking.
It is. It's the worst thing ever. And it's also super fun.
It's funny how that happens, huh?
So funny how that happens. It's the light and the dark. It's the terror and the ecstasy. Writing short fiction is much easier.
I can imagine.
Although right now, during a global pandemic, I'm totally uninspired to submit, for one, write anything, but also submit to like, open calls for horror fiction anthologies and things like that.
God, it is really hard. I mean, like, Terry and I write a lot of, like, reviews and essays, and it's so hard right now to feel any kind of creative inspiration to write anything. Like, I just feel so zapped of my creative energy. It sucks.
It's the worst.
It
Because,
is.
you know, is the world ending? I don't know, probably. Like, what is happening? No one fucking knows. This is basically unprecedented since, you know, what, the Spanish flu in 1918?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I was like, you're home all the time. You can write. I'm like, ha ha ha.
Yeah, if only it was that fucking easy.
Right?
I wish.
My brain's like, fuck you. No, you're not.
Stare at your phone for 10 hours instead, and then also stare at a wall for 10 minutes straight, just like
Uh-huh.
pretending not to feel.
Jeez.
Anyway.
Right, yeah, for sure. This is how it goes, man.
Terry, do you want to talk about what we've been watching recently?
Hell yeah.
Cool. So, Terry, what have you been watching recently?
Well, my obsession with Animal Crossing has been briefly waylaid by my obsession with Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh my god, yes! More video games!
Which I am loving so much.
Really? I've heard really good things about it.
It's so good. Like you know, when they talked about the fact that the original game was, you know, this big epic, and they've focused this version on just the town of Midgard, I was like, well, how are they going to like stretch that out to being like a 40 or 50 hour game? But so far it's really good. And I just, man, I'll tell you what, I love the music in that game.
Cool.
I mean, it might not be my favorite Final Fantasy, but the music in it is just, it's so iconic and so brilliant. And I love it so much.
Oh yeah.
And then I've taken on this project where I'm trying to get through my backlog of movies. And today I saw on Twitter, Anya Stanley, she was talking about how like she was canvassing Twitter for like programs to like easily capture your movie collection digitally. And someone suggested, I think it's called My Movies 3 Pro, which is like, I think it was like a $10 purchase on Apple Store. So I bought it, and I have spent today like categorizing all of my movies and just like using the barcode scanner and getting all my movies in it, because I'm trying to really make a push through it. So the one movie that I did watch on this, and I'm doing this on the podcast so you guys can help keep me on track. So the movie I watched is called Deadline, from 1984.
Okay.
I think it was a Vinegar Syndrome release recently. And it's about it's a thinly veiled story about Stephen King. Like it's about this writer who, in the synopsis, begins to lose his ability to distinguish between his fantasies and reality, is what it says. But really what it is he's like struggling with writer's block, and the movie interjects a bunch of scenes that I guess he's thinking of in his head. So like, it's like this almost kind of like depressing destruction of a family where like the wife and him aren't getting along, and they have kids that he's like ignoring. One of them, by the way, is a girl that was in the Brood. It's a Canadian feature.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So like, Cindy Hines.
Cindy Hines.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So she's in this, and I was like, because she kind of reminded me of the I can't remember her name, was the girl that was in Poltergeist, but then I realized that it was the girl from the Brood. But like, he's like never there. He hates his family. He's an asshole. He's abusive. He just like, whenever the kids are asking for something, he's like, where's your mom? Go talk to your mom. And then intercut through this are like scenes of ridiculous violence. Like there's one where this woman is taking a shower, and then like it starts to like erupt blood in her face.
Oh wow.
And one is there's this,
I hate it when that happens.
right? One, there's this woman that's like, who's severely, like really pregnant, and she's giving birth, and her stomach is very big, and then she starts like spurting blood, and the doctors are talking about how it's another case of the fetus is committing suicide in the womb.
Holy shit.
It's this really bizarre, weird, over the top like violence and gore vignettes interspersed in what's basically a family like arguing with each other.
I'm here for it.
It's so weird. It's so weird, but I kind of dug it.
Huh.
Yeah. So that's my my first movie in this hopeful series of getting my hundreds of movies watched.
So how does that app work? You scan your barcode and then what happens after that?
Yeah, so it it just basically makes like a category of all of your movies that you have, and so like you can either add them by doing the barcode, or you can add them in manually. And then like one of the things that I really like about it, and one of the things I'm going to be using for this, is that if you shake your phone or whatever, it will randomly give you a movie.
Oh, so that's
I'm
cool.
planning on using that to like just shake it, and whatever movie comes up is the movie I'm going to watch
That's
to
smart.
get through my stock of movies. But yeah, it's just basically like an online repository of all of your movies that you own, and you can like change it, stuff that you own, stuff that you've seen, stuff that you want to sell, I guess. Like there's a whole lot of different options, but
wow, cool.
So that's funny because I'm doing something very similar because of Anya Stanley's tweet and trying to organize my Blu-ray and graphic novel collection. I'm using a different app that has for books and for movies called Libib, I think, or Libib. Same concept. It's free and you scan the barcode and it populates into a library, and you can have different libraries of different stuff. And that is my new project whilst in quarantine, to try to get my stuff together and stop buying repeat comic books and just like have an inventory of my movies. So I'm glad that we are on the same wavelength, Terry.
Yeah. And I mean, the other thing is that like there's been so many times where a Vinegar Syndrome sale pops up, or like a Synapse or something, and I'm like, oh, do I have that movie? I don't know if I have that movie. And so like either A, will buy it and I'll end up having it, or B, I just won't buy it. And then I'll be like, I should have bought it because I don't have it. So I'm hoping that this way will like help me keep track of all of these little boutique places. And
that's so cool. I'm just going to say it warms my cold little dead cracked black heart that you guys buy physical media.
Oh, I love physical media.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
it's the greatest.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ease of being able to stream stuff, but like, I'm a kid of I grew up in the 80s. I had VHSs, I had betas. Yep. I love the act of owning it. And I also love the fact that, I mean, iTunes is doing it now a lot more, but like, just like the options that are available on it with like, the background and the commentaries and all that kind of fun stuff that
right.
Movies don't seem to be doing as much.
Find that online. And now that everyone and their mom is streaming everything every day, all day long, all night long, like the internet, the streaming services sometimes stop working.
Yeah.
Or like, you're like, oh, I want to watch this movie, but then it's gone.
Yep.
It was there, but it's gone. But like physical media, you own that forever until it wears out or something else catastrophic happens,
Yeah. And like, I like to get physical media too, because like with graphic novels, I get to support my local comic book shop. And like a lot of the times I'm buying DVDs from either like Vinegar Syndrome or Arrow or Severn, or I'm getting used DVDs from like my favorite record shops that have like used records and DVDs and stuff. So, it's like a nice way to support small businesses and stuff.
And I mean, I signed up for the yearly Vinegar Syndrome release, which like, I think if you buy everything, like if you're planning to buy everything, is a great deal. But like, there's a lot of, I mean, let's be honest, there's sometimes a lot of crap that they put out. But I gotta support them because I love to see. Who would have known that I would want to watch a movie called Deadline, right? Or that like all these movies that you won't find anymore unless someone is taking care of it and doing the work to like put them onto digital media and bring them up from being like a reel to being on a Blu-ray. I think that's awesome, and that's why I support them for sure.
Absolutely. And we need our film history archived. Like what's going to happen.
I mean, that's exactly it. Like, no one else is going to do it. No one else is going out there going, oh, this movie needs to be restored. So I gotta support them, even if like some of the movies I'm like, well, that was definitely a movie I watched.
Somebody made this.
Yes.
I consumed that.
I did.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's me. What about you, Mary Beth?
So I'm also going on a journey, but it's a different journey. It's a found footage horror film journey for a personal project that I'm working on. And basically trying to watch a lot of found footage movies and looking at them in like various perspectives. But basically I want to like, as Amazon Prime has like a shit ton of found footage horror that actually is not bad. Like, I've actually watched a couple really good found footage movies that have like 2 reviews and no one's really seen them. This one I watched called Leaving DC is actually really amazing. It's about a guy who, and it's funny because I live in DC, so that caught my eye immediately because sometimes I would also like to leave DC. But he has OCD, which I do too. So again, I was like, okay, I love to see OCD in horror cinema. And it's about him moving to West Virginia to get away from the city. And he's making these these vlogs for his OCD support group to check in with his mental health while he is living out in the woods in West Virginia. And of course, like, spooky shit starts going down. And so it's really creepy. It's really just one guy on a camera, and it's so well done. And I think the found footage horror genre gets a lot of shit for being bad and being lazy. But I honestly think it's one of like the most innovative subgenres right now for feature films. I think that there's a lot of really interesting film techniques, and obviously there are bad ones. I have seen many bad found footage films, and I know that a lot of the time, like, studios will grab onto the idea and try to make a quick buck with a bunch of jump scares. But like some of the stuff I've watched is really fascinating and like really is effective use of scares. And even if they're not always like amazing, I really respect how those filmmakers are trying to get around budgetary restrictions by using this really fascinating kind of like quasi-rebellious form of making films that is like goes against the usual like illusion of filmmaking. But I have a lot of feelings about found footage. Sorry.
No, that's great.
And I saw Leaving DC, and then I finally saw Hell House, LLC, for the first time from 2015. And that was also amazing. Lots of people have talked about it. It's about this group of people basically is going to set up a haunted house in this old hotel called the Abaddon Hotel, when Abaddon is a demon. And the hotel is very haunted, and I found footage about that. And it was so creepy. And I guess I just have like a very weirdly big passion for found footage all of a sudden, and like wanted to champion the subgenre and try to like really dig into it and like find the gems. So yeah, it's been my fun journey the past couple of weeks.
You could totally look at found footage films as outsider cinema.
Yes.
In an aspect, because they're not following traditional rules. They're making them up, or they're making their own universe of rules. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it feels so far left of field that anything Hollywood usually does.
Yeah, and that's why, I mean, and I also think it's amazing in these movies where like they intentionally add like glitches and bad bad editing and like bad footage. And it's like, I feel like, you know, a lot of like in film history, it's all about like maintaining the artifice of the cinema and like looking at the screen, like the bright wall in the dark room and like being immersed in the world. But like the found footage films basically say fuck you to that, and it's so cool. I think it's a fascinating thing to kind of look at and examine. So that's been my past couple of my week and my past couple of weeks. Izzy, what have you been watching?
A lot, because you know we're strapped. So I have so the one that I just finished. Okay, I'm late to the party on this, I think, but the second season of You last night.
Oh, I have never watched You, actually.
Wasn't it good?
Oh my god. Okay, it's Gossip Girl, but filled with horror.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, I should watch that. The way you just described it sells me, because I hadn't been sold before, but now I feel.
Dude, it's nuts.
It's so nuts.
Oh my god, I am 1,000% here for Penn Badgley and anything he wants to do ever again. He's going on my Dreamcast list after this because no, for real.
He's really good though. I mean, like, I like him in general, but I've just seen like clips from You, and he's so creepy.
He's so creepy, but then
charismatic as fuck.
There are certain scenes where he's totally in love with whoever the object of his affection is at that point, and there is this look of rapture that comes over his face that I've not often seen in any actor, and that is magical.
The only other person I've seen it in recently has been like Timothée Chalamet, when like he in like Call Me by Your Name, just the way he like stares at his co-star in it, like it's like that. Yeah, I know exactly what look you're talking about with Penn. It's like
so it's like you're totally in love, your clothes fall off, I am here, what is going on? Like, let's do this. We're going to another universe. That's what that feels like.
And what about Victoria Pedretti, though, in season 2? She's so fantastic. She was in The Haunting of Hill House, and her character on this is so interesting.
It is. I was, without spoiling it, like, I was thinking, I'm like, I'll bet this is going to go in this direction because I'm a horror filmmaker and writer.
Right.
And I was right. And I was like, yeah! And she's so,
Yeah.
She's so very, very assertive, and there's no way that she's going to go down without a fight.
Yeah. And what a contrast to the first season's love interest, right? Like,
yeah, it's interesting. I thought that actress was also phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I've also been watching Killing Eve, which is really fun.
Oh,
and great.
I love Killing Eve.
I need to get into that. I've never watched it.
I need to catch up. I only watched the first season, but it's so good. It's just like, it's very bingeable. Like, you get sucked in.
Yeah. Yep. The writing is so super smart.
It is.
It's by Phoebe, right?
Yeah, Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's like watching this, you can see why they chose her for the Bond film.
Yeah.
And it's rare that I laugh out loud at things, so I always appreciate that. I've also been watching Peaky Blinders, which is great. Recently watched Vampire's Kiss, the 1980.
Oh,
86,
my God, yes.
Nicolas Cage. It's batshit.
It's batshit. I love that movie. Like,
somebody made this.
And like, Nicolas Cage, it's just always like, he talks like this. And it's like, he's just always been weird. And I, respect.
A, B, C, D, G, F, A,
It's Terry, have you seen it?
No, I have not.
You have to see it. It's so interesting.
Interesting is one word.
It's one word.
Horrifying is another.
Yeah.
Hilarious is another.
Yeah.
Jaw-dropping, what the fuck is mostly my words for that film.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to watch it.
Is
it streaming anywhere?
Yeah.
I watched it on Amazon, I think.
Did you?
But I don't know if it's still there.
If you go to, do you guys have the app Just Watch? It's the greatest. So if you put in like a movie title to either the app or the desktop version, Just Watch, it'll tell you if it can find your movie that you want to see and where it's playing.
Oh,
Oh yeah, it's on Prime. I'm gonna have to watch it. I will watch it.
You have to, man.
It's real good.
And then tweet about it.
Yeah.
And tweet at me because I want to know what you think.
Hell yeah.
It's totally insane. Totally insane. I've also been going through Stuart Gordon's catalog. Rest in peace.
Oh, R.I.P.
Yeah, Dolls, Reanimator, Dagon, Castle Freak, From Beyond, Pit and Pendulum. Yeah, he's a giant.
He really
was.
was.
Missed.
So we have been talking about what we've been watching now, but what movie are we talking about today, Izzy?
Well, that would be An American Werewolf in London.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So before we start talking about this movie, we'll give you a quick synopsis to catch you up, listener. So David and Jack are two American students on a walking tour of Britain and are attacked by a werewolf. Jack is killed and David barely survives. While convalescing in a London hospital, he begins to have nightmares and finds that his friend has come back to haunt him, demanding him to kill himself before he kills again. But has he truly been cursed, or is he just going insane?
Bum, bum, bum.
Dun, dun, dun.
Who can say for sure?
Well, in about an hour of the movie, you can say for sure. I was surprised at how long it took to get to that point. Like, it's so good up until that point, but it surprised me how it wasn't until an hour in that the transformation happens. But
Right.
Before we get to that, how old were you when you saw this? And tell us the story. What is the story about this movie?
Okay, so I think I was 5.
Oh, wow.
Oh, shit.
Yes. Okay, that is a
Good
guess.
God.
I think I was 5. Well, like I said, unsupervised, but
Yeah.
also I was a very sneaky child. So what happened with this film in particular was that, okay, so my parents, they had HBO, and late one night I heard some weird noise, some intriguing sounds. And so what I would do is I would tiptoe all the way down the hall, through the dining room, through the kitchen, and then I would sort of stand behind like the door jamb in the corner of the living room, like beyond where they could see me, but I could see some of the TV, or I could actually see it all. And I would like sneak watch stuff that I wasn't supposed to see late at night if I wasn't sleeping. Yeah,
I did that a lot as well as a child.
I think we all do that.
Yep.
Like, it's like your prime directive is just to be a little anarchist, basically, you know? So, and that's until you go through school and they squash you with the rules and you lose all your creativity and childlike wonder, and that's another story. Anyway, fuck that. So, yeah. So I would sneak down, watch some stuff, some spooky shit would happen. I would get scared. I'd run away back to my room and then hear some noise again, some dialogue or some screaming or whatever, and I'd be so scared. But then I would just fucking go back for more.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I
kept doing it. Oh my God. And I was just terrified because that film is not a film a young child could ever watch.
No.
Yeah.
But it was the greatest.
Was there a part that you remember specifically scaring you?
Well, the werewolf transformation.
Yeah, that'll do it.
As well as the corpse talking to his friend.
Yeah.
And the other talking corpses, there's the slaughtered lamb sign itself, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's a decapitated werewolf-looking head. It doesn't even look like a lamb.
In the words of Jack, where's the lamb?
Right. Yeah, exactly. You have these two guys, and they're young guys, but to me, they're fucking 30 because I'm 5 and I don't know anything. And they're in the wet, cold, dark moors of Newcastle or wherever they are, and they're lost and they're in the dark. And when you're a kid, getting lost and dark things and things in the shadows and growling sounds, that's all terrifying. That's like some grim fairy tale shit.
Yeah.
So.
And that howl is so eerie in the beginning.
That's what I'm saying. It's still so good,
it's
right?
So
it still holds up. Yeah. But, how strange is it to just watch a movie, any movie, but then this corpse, your friend, shows up and starts eating your toast in the hospital. And it's like, you should kill yourself. And you're like, huh? What is it? What? John Landis has a very creative mind.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And then he comes back, and his next meeting has his other 5 victims, and they're all talking corpses, but then Jack is more decapitated and desiccated and green and decaying.
I forgot how gross he gets.
You're in a fucking porn theater.
I was gonna say, it's so fun.
It's to kill yourself,
in a porn theater.
In a porn theater. It's
in a porn theater surrounded by your victims, and one of them, the only woman, is sitting there with this cheerful grin on her face, offering up ways of himself to go kill himself.
Right. I mean, how unhinged is that?
It's so fucking bizarre.
Yeah. Oh my God. And there's the attack in the underground where he kills the tall guy with the briefcase.
That was fucking horrifying.
Yeah. The guy falls down the escalator. Oh, Jesus. And he's just waiting to be served up to this monster.
And this absolute beautiful shot from the top of the escalator where he's lying on the escalator, and you see, and it's one of the first glimpses we get of the werewolf as he's approaching out of the tunnel, and it's just so beautiful and good, and it's I love that shot so much.
So good. And then of course, at the end, not to ruin a 39-year-old fucking movie.
We don't care at this point. Spoilers are expected, so It's fine.
You have a fucking full-out melee in the middle of, what is it, Trafalgar Square. There's a melee. This guy gets hit by a car. This woman gets hit by another guy, gets pinned between a bus and a fucking truck.
Right?
This guy
turns
goes
into
flying in the air.
fucking action movie for a minute.
What's that?
It turns into a fucking action movie for a minute.
Yes, it's an all-out melee of metal madness, bodies flying through the air, severed everything, like that. To watch as a child, you're you're probably traumatized for life, but I watched it the other night again to refresh, because why not? And I'm like laughing hysterically because it's like the operatic violence is so well done, and I laugh at bad shit. So
because it feels like it's so nonsensical. Like he bursts out of the porno theater, and it all starts happening in front of a porno theater, and just like chaos reigns. And also I think I laughed a little bit because I didn't realize how small the werewolf kind of was, like short to the ground, which kind of made me laugh. which is terrible. But like, I just thought it was funny, and but it was also so violent, and
so violent.
It's so weird because I actually had never seen this movie before, which I am mad at myself about.
Welcome.
I know. I had watched the beginning of it at a horror movie night in high school, but I think they got bored by it, which was really frustrating. So I don't remember being bored by it, but I think my friends were bored. So I never had watched it. And so I finally watched it this week, and my boyfriend was like, oh yeah, I love this movie. And he said, it's not a comedy, but it's kind of a comedy. And that's what I feel like that's a good way to describe it. Because I feel like it's not like hilarious, but it's like a really black comedy horror film.
It's totally a comedy.
You can't not call it a comedy, but it's not comedy in the way that like a lot of people would think of like, right. It's more like you laugh at the ridiculousness of it and you're like, oh, that person's dead, but I'm laughing. Like,
right.
Like these corpses are telling him to kill himself and I'm laughing. Like, that's pretty fucked, huh?
Right. I mean, well, why wouldn't you? I mean, we're in good company.
Exactly.
You know?
Terry, how old were you when you saw it?
You know, I don't know that. I don't know. I honestly don't. I know that I saw it as a kid, and I'm having like, I had like visions of myself as like kind of doing the same thing you were talking about, Izzy, of like my parents watching it. Cause my dad loved werewolf movies. He was a big, like the Wolfman fan, and like, well, he loved Universal Monsters, and he would watch them throughout the years. And so I had this like, the howl in the beginning of the movie just sort of brought me back to being a kid. And I'm pretty sure that like I saw parts of it. Like I remember, I think I probably snuck, cause like the way my house was in Alaska, like we were upstairs and it was almost like a loft, and the loft is overlooking sort of like the living room area. And so I would kind of crawl on my arms, like in like sort of like doing that kind of like army crawl to like the bars like the railing, and like sort of like squint and look down, and I could see like part of the movie that they were watching sometimes. And I remember the face of David when he wakes up in the bed and his eyes are like fucked up, and he's like partially transformed in that one nightmare thing. And I remember that like making me like run back to my room.
Totally.
So I don't know if I've seen like, I know I've seen all of it, but I don't know if I've seen it all together. I think this might have been the first time that I saw it from beginning to end.
Oh, interesting.
To be perfectly honest.
Okay.
Because I remember scenes, but I don't remember a lot about this movie. I just remember the big scenes, like the one that we haven't even talked about, the Nazi nightmare.
Oh my God.
Oh, God.
I know. How can you forget? Yeah, it's insane.
That scene, I want to focus on that a minute, because that scene comes out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
And I was so confused watching it this time, because I was like, wait, why is he back home? Like, I totally forgot that there was this whole Nazi wolf dream in this movie.
I had to take a second to remember. I'm like, Nazis, hold on.
And the way that scene is staged is so perfect, because on the TV you have like Kermit and Miss Piggy talking about violence and puppetry and Punch and Judy, and how, you know, this is good aggression. Then all of a sudden these, I don't know, are they supposed to be werewolves? I don't know what they are, but they're Nazis, and they come in and just start shooting up this Jewish family.
One's like a warthog.
Right.
They're like, I think they're different anthropomorphic creatures.
Yeah, I think so too.
And they just like shoot up this entire family, and it's so bloody.
It's so strange. Yeah, I mean, it speaks to the Jewish experience of John Lewis. You know, maybe he had that dream one day. I don't know. I can't speak to that experience, not being Jewish myself, but having known about the Holocaust, I can only hint at and imagining at how horrible that would be, you know, if someone is hunting my family and my friends and all that. Like, it has to, that's ingrained in your DNA, you know?
Well, and then also taking that a step further, the idea that, like, you know, he thinks this is what he's going to become. And so he's seeing like these Nazis killing his family, and like he's being told that he's going to kill the people he loves. Right. And so kind of envisioning himself as like becoming the bad guy. It's such a powerful little scene that's kind of funny looking back on it, but not at the same time.
I see it as incredibly, you know, horrific. I mean, the sculpting of the faces of the creatures it's, you know, let's call it absurdist comedic, you know, for sure. but like what they're doing, Jesus Christ.
And the way they just, the kids, like, you don't see that very often.
Murdering children.
Yes, I know.
And their bodies are bloody
machine
as
gun.
fuck.
It's always so shocking when I see that, because it's like, it just feels like kids are always so sacred. It's always like kind of, I hate saying cool, because it's not cool to see kids die, but I kind of like it when like a filmmaker will take a risk and do something like that, I think.
I love killing children. It's so not boring.
Yeah, and like, you know what? Fuck it, I'll just say it. It's not boring, and it's kind of cool to see people being like, going right into taboo stuff. Like, I think that's important, and I think it's important for horror. I think like nothing is off the table for horror. So like, why not machine gun some kids? Please no one take that out of context.
Soundbite. Film at 11.
Mary Beth McAndrews said she wants to machine gun children. Oh no.
And how we laughed.
This is the liberal left. Funny. Yeah. But I also love that the dream just continues. Like, I completely forgot that after he wakes up and he's with Nurse Price, that nope, this is still a dream. And she gets fucking stabbed by the wolf as well.
It's insane. It's insane.
That scene is so good. And then the transformation.
Oh, we have to talk about it.
Rick fucking Baker. He was the first to win the Academy Award for makeup.
It is absolutely the most gorgeous use of practical effects I've ever seen.
It holds up.
Like, it holds up. So the way they did the transformation, it's like on screen, it just, I can't even put words to it, to like how it made me feel. I was sitting on my couch, just like my mouth wide open, because like I knew about the transformation. I had seen clips online, but just like seeing it as part of the film and like really appreciating the craft of the whole thing is just it's really amazing.
It's pretty phenomenal, and to watch that as a small child, you're going to be fucking scarred for life.
Yes, someone tweeted at us and was like, "I was scared of my dog for weeks."
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
why wouldn't you be?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was Jay Nordell, who's a friend of the show. He's scared of his dog for weeks as a child.
I would be too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and the thing that it surprised me again. I mean, I mentioned this a little earlier that we're an hour into the movie when this happens, and it just sort of like there's no like lead up to it. He's just sitting there. He's been like wasting away his day, bored, and then all of a sudden he gets like this sharp pain in his head, and then
it gets really hot.
Yeah,
takes off his clothes.
Oof, I made a comment, nice ass.
Of course.
As I do.
As you do, yeah.
But like, and again, the way that Landis mixes the comedy with it, because as he's like changing, he says, "I didn't mean to call you a meatloaf, Jack." Because like he made fun of his friend for looking like meatloaf earlier. And so like just this combination of like all this painful thing that like you could feel it. It's so painful to watch just everything happening to him that just that moment of levity has made me start laughing.
That actor, David Naughton, though, he really sold it with the screaming.
He really does.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You could feel that, and you hear the cracking of the bones as they move around, and the stretching of the back of his Achilles heel, and oh, Jesus Christ.
Like, the horror as he watches his hand, like, elongate, and he's just watching it in, like, absolute terror. It's just, it looks like it's actually happening to him. Like, he is legitimately becoming a werewolf.
So fucking unnerving, and it had never been shown before on screen.
Yeah.
A transformation like that, which is why it was, groundbreaking. And just, wow. Scarred for life.
She said it. She said the name of the show.
I did. Feel free to use that as a soundbite.
There you go.
For real, do it.
Now, the thing that I made many little notes about, because this is me, is he is so sexy in this.
Mm-hmm.
David Naughton is so incredible. He just exudes sex in this movie, and his relationship with Nurse Price is like, I'm like, I want you to do that to me. The entire time I'm like, man, he just is like oozing sexuality this entire time between him and even him and Jack have this kind of playful flirtiness to him.
Yeah, they definitely do.
They do.
Like,
I like it.
I liked it. I was like, I want a movie about the two of them being a couple.
Hell yeah. I was trying to think, like, I was like, there has to be some kind of like queer reading to this. But like, I couldn't think of how to even start talking about it, but I'm sure there is something there underneath.
Oh, for sure. There's definitely subtext. And that nurse, man, she was a snack too. Wow.
Ooh, she's hot.
Snake.
How could she be a nurse being that hot? Come on now.
Right.
Like, I know this is Hollywood, but give me just a little bit to imagine here. This is just, she's way too cute.
Gorgeous. Just
and I was
gorgeous.
like, that's so creepy. You don't really know him, and like, he's obviously been traumatized, and you're letting him stay in your apartment. Like,
Yeah, you don't even know this guy.
That's very
Why?
trusting of you.
Well, not only that, but she like goes through her sexual history in the very beginning. She's like, what did she say? She's had 7 lovers, 3 of them were one night stands.
Yeah, he's like, what?
Like, she's just like, let me list off like my resume.
What an odd thing to say.
And he just wants to know, do you live by yourself? Okay, good.
Yeah.
But then there's also on the comedy side, I love the scene at the zoo.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Mommy, a naked American man stole my
balloons. What? And just the idea of like, especially in the 80s when you had like a bunch of like child rapes happening, that you have this comedy point of this guy hiding in the bushes like, come here, little boy, let me have your balloons.
I know.
I'll give you a pound.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking, oh God, what's he going to say next? I have a little puppy over here for you. Like, it's like
Jesus.
just that side of things. I was like, this is really weird looking back on it.
It's such a weird fucking movie, but it's so good.
So inappropriate all the time, 24/7.
Have you guys seen?
Yep.
Right.
And if you like An American Werewolf in London, you have to watch Trading Places, which stars Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. It is hysterical. And Jamie Lee Curtis is also in
I've
it,
seen it, but I can't remember. I don't remember much about it.
It is a fucking classic.
Yeah.
It's a fucking classic. It's so funny, and it's so smartly written and brilliantly acted. And there's also like this really batshit scene because it's John Landis being crazy. So this got to be something batshit. Dan Aykroyd's incredibly fucking drunk, and he's running around in a filthy Santa outfit, and he's got a gun, and he's like, I'll be sorry, and he pulls out this spread of like smoked salmon out of his fucking Santa outfit on the bus, and he starts to chew on it, and it's just not okay. Anyway, you have to see that. Big fan of that movie.
I think John Landis is a really good director.
He is?
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
I met him.
Did you? You did meet him?
I met the Landis. Mm-hmm. So,
how did that go?
How did that go? That was funny and strange and weird. Because it would be. So, all right. So this is 2016, around Halloween, down in Mexico City for an amazing film festival called Morbido.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was lucky enough. They've played several of my shorts, and I was down there, and their special guests that year were John Landis and Mick Garris.
Ooh.
So yeah, and Mick is a super nice guy, very affable, and John is very, very either quiet and thoughtful and thinking about things, or more not, loud and bubbly and boisterous, because of course he is, So the first time I met him was like a little private pre-festival party for the filmmakers, and he went around the room saying, hi, and what do you do? And you're a filmmaker? And like, what is your name? And what is your movie? And that was really cool. And
that is really cool.
Yeah, but then, all right, so the word filmmaker means different things to different people. And I won't name this other friend, but my friend was like, oh, I'm a producer. He's like, well, you're not a filmmaker. And he was like, what?
Oh, no.
Oh my God, he got so insulted.
Oh no.
It was a very strange thing.
Wow. Oh God.
And then John apologized the next day by like buying him a little treat from this, like a little souvenir from this field trip we had all gone on. So Morbido does these amazing filmmaker excursions, and they brought us to the Sun and Moon Pyramid, and so you walk around and you can go hiking up and down the pyramids, and one is more challenging than another, and there's a lot of space and it's very hot. So after that, there's an on-site museum where there are half-buried ancient Mayan skeletons and artifacts everywhere, and you're standing above it and you're looking down and you're just seeing all this amazing like world history and right in front of you. And they have like these ancient gods like Quetzalcoatl, and so we had seen that, and so John was talking about Quetzalcoatl and the history of that because he knows a lot of stuff. It's insane. And then I'm like, yeah, cue the winged serpent, Larry Cohen, yeah. And he looks at me and he's like, that's right. Yeah. Like, Larry's a friend of mine. Yeah, because of course.
Yeah, of course.
And Larry Cohen is another amazing filmmaker, very socio-political. And, rest in peace, that guy as well. Yeah. He was brilliant. Missed. So after this field trip in the museum, they bring us to this amazing underground restaurant called La Grotto or La Grotta. I don't remember sure which variation, but so it's in this beautiful, natural, huge cave, and they have it decorated beautifully for the Day of the Dead, and the Katrinas and the little colorful banners and all the sugar skulls, and it's so fucking rad. And they have a special section for us with like these two huge long tables and this huge buffet, and it's like a multi-course meal, and you have like tortilla soup, and you have flan, and you have, mole, chicken mole.
Oh, wow.
And amazing side dishes. Like, you eat yourself silly, basically. And it's just like more than you could ever eat. And it's just all so good. And you're so like, wow, I'm at this incredible event with all these amazing, talented people. And John fucking Landis is over there. Anyway, so at the end of the meal, John Landis, he's sitting at the table behind me, and so strange. Okay, so it's Mexico, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's really hot, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're in a cave.
Yeah.
Ice cream. Ice cream does not happen. He had asked for ice cream. So, yeah. So I did something incredibly strange because I'm a little bit off the fucking trail myself. Okay? So he's like, what? You don't have any ice cream? What? And I turned and I whipped around. I go, what? Yeah, okay. And then I slowly turned back around because he's just staring at me open mouthed, and I'm like, did I just make John Landis like speechless? But then I was like, what, did I also just have a fucking outburst with Little John lyrics? Like, what the fuck just happened? I'm like, I don't know, but it was really funny. And so,
wow.
Yeah, that is my John Landis story.
Wow.
I fucking heckled John Landis. Jesus.
That's amazing. Wrong with me? That's amazing.
And I was sober, so here we are.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, man.
So to wrap up, we are going to give this movie a rating out of 5. I'm going to say 5 slaughtered lambs.
Yeah.
So Terry and I will share our ratings, and then Izzy, you get the final word and your final rating on American Werewolf in London.
Fantastic.
So Terry, how many slaughtered lambs out of 5 do you give American Werewolf in London, and what are your final thoughts?
I gotta give it 5 out of 5. I loved this movie. I loved it even more this time. I think maybe because I might be the first time I saw it all the way through.
Yeah.
But I think the practical effects hold up, and we know I stand practical effects. I love them. And I think the chemistry between the two leads is just so amazing to watch. And I gotta admit, I find David Naughton incredibly sexy in this. So in that regard, I laughed a lot. I jumped a couple times. I thought it was a blast. 5 slaughtered lambs for me. What about you, Mary Beth?
5 slaughtered lambs out of 5. I am ashamed this is my first time seeing it, but I'm also so glad I was finally given the opportunity to make myself sit down and watch it. It is such a funny and fucked up and amazing film, and again, practical effects, like the transformation scene is flawless, and the way that it marries like really dark comedy and horror is just like chef's kiss. So So, Izzy, what is your rating and your final word on An American Werewolf in London?
1000%. I'm with you guys. 5 out of 5. Slaughtered Lambs.
Yay!
It is a strange, wondrous journey through bizarre corpse cameos and horrific Nazi creature demon shootings and sexy moments and horrific practical effects transformations that will never be forgotten. Fun acting, fucking melee in the middle of London. Everyone's dying. It's hilarious. I love it very much. And you should watch it if you haven't seen it.
Everyone's dying. It's hilarious. I love that.
Everyone's dying. It's really funny. Go watch it. Bye.
Exactly.
But, you know, listening to you describe the movie, though, it's amazing that this is all in one film.
It's insane.
Like, just,
Yes.
it is insane. It is insane. Well, thank you so much, Izzy, for joining us to talk about American Werewolf in London. Where can our listeners find you, and what do you have coming up?
Oh, thank you for having me. I can be reached on Twitter, Niall Noctum Film. My website is niallnoctumfilms.com, and you can watch trailers of my shorts or see what I've written for, like, the horror book anthologies that I've been in, or what film festivals I was going to be at with Disco Graveyard. But we live in a very strange, terrific, horrifying reality right now where I'm not even sure if it is reality or if this is all just a horrible dream or it's something like The Matrix. I don't know. But Disco Graveyard was going to play Boston Underground. It was going to play Chattanooga Film Festival this weekend.
Yeah, I was like, this weekend I was supposed to be in Chattanooga, and you were going to be there too, right?
Yeah, we're going to fly out tomorrow night. Yeah. And it is such a fun town and run by, you know, the fest is run by really fun people, and you can get fried chicken biscuit sandwiches. It's insane. And when I go there, my blood is replaced by Chattanooga whiskey, which is a sponsor.
Yeah.
It is delicious. So I don't know where I'll be this year, but as soon as festivals come back and it's safe to do so, I will probably be as many of them as I can.
Awesome. So, listeners, you've heard from us, but we want to hear from you. What was your experience with An American Werewolf in London? You can send us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us directly on Twitter. I'm at MB McAndrews.
And I'm at Gaily Dreadful.
And of course, follow the podcast and keep the conversation going by chatting to the podcast on Twitter at Scarred Podcast.
And please don't forget to review, rate, and subscribe.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you to Steve Barnold for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our music. Everyone stay safe out there, but most importantly, stay creepy.
And until next time...
Won't somebody please think of the children? Won't somebody please think of the children? Somebody please think of the children!
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room? It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system. If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served. Hi, I'm Detective Dave. I'm Detective Dan. Together we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood. So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished. From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th. We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.